Imagine a golden African savanna under an endless blue sky, where the warm wind dances among the solitary acacia trees. Suddenly, a heart-stopping scene unfolds. A broad-winged eagle swoops down in a deadly dive, talons outstretched, eyeing a meerkat pup running desperately, alone and vulnerable in the middle of nowhere. The little animal stumbles. It seems like the end. But then, out of nowhere, a golden retriever with a gleaming coat appears, tongue hanging out, running towards the danger. In an instant that defies all logic, she places herself between the pup and the eagle, barking furiously until she drives the predator away. What happens next is something no one would expect. The dog lowers her head, sniffs the frightened little meerkat, and, with surprising gentleness, embraces it as if it were her own pup. That image you are seeing now, the golden retriever lying on the ground, smiling with its tongue hanging out, and the little meerkat standing beside it, looking up confidently, is not a montage. It's the exact moment when two completely different species decide that on that day, in that place, life is worth more than any wild instinct. Get ready, because this story will show how an unlikely encounter in the right place at the right time can change everything. It was a dry morning on the vast plains of southern Africa, where the sun was already beating down even before 8 o'clock. Luna, a 3-year-old golden retriever, was roaming freely as she always did near the small private reserve where her owners worked as safari guides. Luna was known to all the staff for her tireless curiosity. She chased butterflies, dug holes after lizards, and above all, loved to run after anything that moved quickly on the horizon. That day, her owners had left early to accompany a group of tourists and left her free, confident that she always returned before noon. On the other side of the plain, a colony of meerkats took advantage of the first rays of sunlight to warm their bodies after the cold night. Among the pups born in the last litter was Quito, a small male of only 6 weeks, thin, with large eyes, and always the most daring. While the adults stood guard in their burrows, Quito decided to stray further than he should, attracted by the glint of an insect flying low. In a few seconds, he was already more than 50 meters from the group, out of reach of the sentinels. It was at that exact moment that a martial eagle, one of the most feared predators in the region, spotted the tiny movement on the golden ground. Its wings closed like an arrow, and it began the silent dive that rarely fails. Luna heard the sharp alarm cry of the adult meerkats even before she saw the scene. The herding instinct, so strong in her breed, made her body react before her mind. She darted straight ahead, her golden fur gleaming against the dry grass, barking with a force that echoed across the plain. The eagle was just meters from its target when Luna positioned herself between the pup and the sky. The dog's deep, continuous bark broke the deadly silence of the attack. The eagle spread its wings at the last second, aborting the dive and rising again, irritated but knowing that the element of surprise had been lost. Quito, paralyzed with fear, could only tremble on the ground as he watched the gigantic shadow recede. Luna, panting, lowered her enormous head until it almost touched the small meerkat, sniffing it carefully. What happened next, no one who saw it could fully explain. Instead of continuing on her way, Luna simply laid down right there, forming a protective semicircle with her body around the frightened cub, as if to say, without words, that he was safe there.
The sun rose quickly, and the heat began to shimmer in the air when the first adult meerkats finally located Quito. 3 sentinels approached, running in a straight line, rearing up on their hind legs, emitting the short, nervous sounds of maximum alert. Seeing Luna lying down with the pup practically hidden between her front paws, they stopped 10 meters away. For a meerkat, any dog is synonymous with immediate danger. For Luna, a group of agitated meerkats could be just another game. But something in the scent of fear that still emanated from Quito made the dog remain motionless, only turning her head slowly to observe the little guardians. She didn't growl, she didn't stand up. She just let out a long, hot sigh that raised dust around them. Quito, still trembling, noticed the adults hesitating. Normally, any lost pup would be grabbed by the scruff of the neck and brought back in seconds, but there was that golden wall of fur and muscle blocking the way. The pup took a hesitant step out of the circle formed by Luna's body. The dog followed the movement with her snout, but didn't stop him. When Quito approached his own kind, the adults took a step back, confused. The dog's scent was now ingrained in the pup's fur, and that was enough for the meerkats to decide that something very wrong was happening. Instead of rescuing him, they began to slowly back away, maintaining an upright, vigilant posture as if expecting Luna to reveal her true intentions at any moment. It was then that Quito did something no one in the colony expected. He turned and ran back to Luna. The little meerkat nestled again between the dog's front paws, pressing his entire body against her warm chest. Luna, surprised by the gesture, lowered her head and licked the top of Quito's head once, a maternal gesture so natural it seemed she had done it hundreds of times before. At that exact moment, the adult meerkats emitted a collective sound of perplexity and began to disperse, returning to their burrows without the pup. For them, Quito had chosen. And in the savanna, choices like that are respected, even when they seem like madness. Luna, for her part, stood up slowly, keeping Quito pressed against her chest with his snout, and began to walk towards the shade of the nearest acacia tree, as if she knew exactly what to do with the new addition to her solitary life.
Luna walked slowly under the sun that now burned her back, choosing the shadiest path possible among the scattered acacia trees. Quito followed close to her left front paw, stumbling every 3 steps because his short legs couldn't keep up with the dog's long stride. Every now and then he would stop, look back towards the distant burrows, and let out a small squeal, as if still trying to understand why his family had abandoned him. Luna would stop immediately, wait for him to recover, and with a quick lick on the top of his head, encourage him to continue. In less than half an hour, the puppy had already learned. When she lowered her muzzle and snorted lightly, it was time to walk. When she laid her head on the ground, it was a sign to rest. Thirst began to get to them both. Luna knew exactly where the makeshift watering hole was that the reserve staff filled every morning, a metal basin under a large tree, about 800 meters away. The problem was crossing an open area where the low grass offered no protection against further aerial attacks. Before leaving the shade, Luna stopped, pricked up her ears, and scanned the sky with half-closed eyes. Only when she was sure that no circular silhouette was flying high did she advance, keeping her body low and Quito almost under her belly. The puppy, sensing the tension, stopped whimpering and ran in total silence, imitating the dog's trot as if they had done it their whole lives. Upon reaching the basin, Luna drank first, plunging her entire snout in and shaking off the water that ran down her chest. Then she took a step back and watched as Quito struggled to climb onto the edge, supporting himself on his front paws and stretching his neck to reach the surface. The water was too high. Without hesitation, Luna used her snout to gently nudge the pup's rear until he could drink. When Quito finished, licking his whiskers, the dog lay down beside the basin and rolled onto her back, exposing her belly to the sun for a few seconds, a clear sign of complete trust. Quito, exhausted, climbed onto her chest and nestled between her front paws, falling asleep in less than a minute. For the first time since the eagle attack, the little meerkat slept without a sentinel watching. Luna remained motionless, only breathing deeply, her half-closed eyes fixed on the horizon, as if she knew that she now carried a responsibility that no one had asked of her, but which she had accepted without hesitation.
Around 11 o'clock, Luna appeared at the camp with Quito trotting beside her, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. The staff who were unloading a jeep stopped immediately. First they saw the golden retriever, then the little meerkat who was following at exactly the same pace, stopping when she stopped, sniffing the ground where she had sniffed. Someone dropped a box of mineral water. Another picked up the radio to call the boss, but gave up halfway because no reserve protocol allowed for a dog bringing a live meerkat pup as if it were her own puppy. Luna ignored everyone, went straight to the shade of the main lodge, turned around 3 times, and lay down with a satisfied sigh. Keto immediately climbed onto her chest and settled in the space between her front paws, just as he had done by the watering trough. The reserve manager, a man named Tomas, who had worked there for 15 years, approached slowly with open hand so as not to frighten either of them. He had known Luna since she was a puppy and knew she had never shown aggression, but he had also never seen anything like it. When he was about 3 meters away, Luna raised her head, looked at him with those calm brown eyes, and let out a low snort, not a threat but a warning. "Come closer and I'll decide if you're welcome." Tomas stopped immediately. Keto, sensing the tension, stood on his hind legs within the dog's embrace, perfectly mimicking the sentinel posture of adult meerkats. The scene was so absurd that someone started laughing nervously, and soon the whole camp was there, forming a silent semicircle, phones in hand, recording in disbelief. They decided not to separate the two immediately. Tomas called a veterinarian friend in a nearby town and explained the situation as best he could. "My dog adopted a meerkat." "Yes, you heard right. No, she's not playing dinner with him, she's treating him like a puppy." While they waited for guidance, they placed a bowl of fresh water and another with pieces of cooked chicken near Luna. She sniffed, ate a little, and then nudged the bowl with her snout towards Keto, who, hesitantly, tasted it but accepted. In less than 2 hours, the little meerkat had already learned that when Luna licked the corner of her own mouth, it was a sign of good food, and Luna, in turn, began to lick Keto from head to paw as she would any canine puppy, cleaning off the savanna dust and keeping away ticks he didn't even know he had. What began as an impromptu rescue was, in everyone's eyes, transforming into something much bigger, a complete adoption, sealed right there, under the thatched roof of the camp, in the right place and at the exact time when two worlds met without asking anyone's permission.
The veterinarian arrived late the following afternoon, and, after observing the two for almost an hour without touching either of them, gave his verdict. Separating them now would be riskier than leaving them as they are. Keto already recognized the sound of Luna's paws from 100 meters away and would run to hide among them as soon as he heard unfamiliar human footsteps. Luna, in turn, had developed a short, specific bark whenever the puppy moved more than 5 meters away. It was a sound that didn't exist in her repertoire before. Feeding them both became a logistical operation. Luna ate high-energy adult dog food. Keto needed light proteins, insects, and small pieces of meat. The solution was simple. They put everything in the same large bowl. Luna ate slowly, always leaving the smaller pieces for last, and Keto quickly learned to grab his share before she changed her mind. At night, the temperature dropped considerably. The staff improvised a large box with blankets inside Luna's room, but the pup refused to sleep there. Every time they tried to put him in the box, Keto squealed desperately until Luna entered the room, lay down on the cold cement floor, and made room on her chest for him. After 2 nights, the box was abandoned. Luna began to sleep curled up in a perfect circle, with Keto nestled exactly where a canine pup would be, receiving the warmth of her body and the slow rhythm of her breathing that soothed him. In the morning, it was always the dog who woke up first, licking the meerkat's snout until he opened his eyes and stretched upright, as others of his species do. Then the two would go out together to the camp's yard. Luna would relieve herself in her usual corner. Keto would quickly dig a hole next to it and cover it with his hind paws, imitating the gesture without even realizing he was copying the behavior of another species. What was most impressive was their mutual learning. Luna taught Keto not to trust shadows that passed quickly in the sky. All she had to do was stiffen her body and raise her ears for the cub to run and throw himself under her. In return, Keto taught Luna to stand on her hind legs. At first, it was just imitation. He would climb onto a stump to keep watch. She would try to do the same and fall sideways, frustrated. But within a week, she could already maintain her balance for a few seconds, enough to look over the tall grass and locate the staff who brought food. Safari guides began taking tourists to see the pair from afar, with binoculars, because any approach would cause Luna to position her body in front of Keto, ready to defend the little friend she had chosen in the right place and at the exact moment when his fate almost ended.
2 weeks after the rescue, Keto had already doubled in size, and was beginning to test the limits of Luna's patience. What had been a trembling pup now climbed the dog's back like a mountain, used her tail as a ladder, and, most irritating to Luna, nibbled at her ears when he wanted to play. The golden retriever, who had never given birth, began to show all the signs of a new mother: swollen nipples, a slight weight gain, and an almost infinite tolerance for the little meerkat's antics. The staff noticed that whenever Quito disappeared from sight for more than a minute, Luna went on high alert, sniffing the ground and emitting a short, anxious bark until she found him. It was as if her maternal instinct had been switched on by a switch no one knew existed. Quito, in turn, developed skills that no meerkat in the neighboring colony possessed. He learned to dig holes with the efficiency of a dog. He used his front paws like shovels and forcefully threw the earth back instead of making the narrow tunnels typical of his species. When Luna chased lizards, he ran after them, but instead of trying to catch them with his mouth, he climbed onto the dog's neck and stood as a sentinel, squealing to indicate the reptile's direction. The two formed an unlikely hunting team. Luna sniffed and cornered. Quito gave the precise alarm. In a short time, the camp's yard was filled with small trophies, lizard tails that Quito proudly deposited at Luna's feet, who sniffed them, approved with a lick, and then ignored them, as any proud mother would. The most memorable moment happened on a windy afternoon. A new martial eagles circled low over the camp, drawn by the pair's playful movements in the open. Everyone froze. Luna saw the shadow first. The fur on her back bristled completely. She lowered her head to the ground and nudged Quito with her snout under her chest. The meerkat obeyed immediately, shrinking as little as possible. The eagle descended to test the water, as if assessing the risk. Luna didn't wait. She rose on her hind legs, something she had been practicing with Quito, and let out a series of barks so deep and powerful that they echoed through the buildings. The eagle hesitated, rose, and gave up. That day, the staff understood that adoption wasn't just about affection, it was true mutual protection. Quito emerged from under Luna trembling, but soon climbed onto her neck and stood there watching the sky for long minutes, as if to say that now it was his turn to reciprocate. The bond, born from a rescue in the right place and at the right time, had become unbreakable.
A video recorded by a Dutch tourist during the third month of their cohabitation went viral. In it, Luna and Quito are seen playing tag around a parked jeep. The dog deliberately ran slowly, allowing the meerkat, now almost the size of a small cat, to climb onto her back, bite her ear, and run down while she feigned a chase with muffled barks. Within 48 hours, the video had millions of views and was shared by major animal profiles worldwide. Television news outlets from South Africa, then Europe, and the United States began calling the reserve requesting interviews. Tomas, the manager, saw the phone ringing non-stop and realized the story had completely spiraled out of control. Suddenly, the once peaceful camp was filled with vans from television stations and drones flying overhead. Luna hated the noise of the propellers, and every time a drone got too close, she would position herself over Quito and bark until the device moved away. The staff improvised a fenced area with tall screens to give the pair privacy, but even so, reporters tried to film from above or through the holes. Quito, who was almost 5 months old, quickly learned that humans with cameras meant stress. Just seeing a tripod was enough for him to run and hide between Luna's paws. The dog, in turn, developed a deep growl that she had never used before, reserved exclusively for those who insisted on getting too close to her adopted puppy. To protect the two, and also take advantage of the situation to help the reserve, Tomas made a difficult decision. He agreed to some interviews, but only with clear rules. The teams had to stay 20 meters away, without drones, and without flash. In exchange, he told the complete story and asked for donations to expand the protection program for the meerkat colonies in the region, which had been suffering from increasingly frequent attacks by eagles and jackals. The money started arriving quickly. In a few weeks, it was already possible to hire 2 extra guards and install monitoring cameras in the main colonies. Luna and Quito, unknowingly, were saving dozens of other pups they would never have met. The image of the two became a symbol of something bigger. Proof that when a life is defended at the exact moment it needs it most, good multiplies in ways that no one can predict.
A year had passed since the day of the eagle's dive. Quito was now an adult meerkat, almost 50 centimeters tall when standing, with a slender body and watchful eyes that observed everything. Luna was turning 4, her golden fur a little lighter at the tips because of the relentless sun, but still running as if she were 2. The two remained inseparable. In the morning, It was Keto who woke up first now. He would climb onto Luna's chest, give little bites to her ear until the dog opened her eyes and snorted in feigned irritation. Then they would go out together for their daily walk through the expanded reserve, a territory that donations had allowed them to buy and protect. Keto went ahead, standing the whole time, squealing when he saw something suspicious. Luna followed close behind, sniffing the ground and marking the boundaries with strong urine, warning any predator that a pair lived there who did not tolerate intrusions. The staff no longer tried to understand. They simply accepted it. Feeding was automatic. 2 bowls side by side, one with wet food and meat for Luna, the other with boiled eggs, insects, and fruit for Keto. But the ritual remained the same. Luna ate first, leaving the smaller pieces and nudging the bowl towards her friend with her snout. At night, they slept the same way. Luna curled up in a circle. Keto nestled against her chest, now almost too big to fit, but still squeezing in as if the space were infinite. When it rained heavily, the two would run into the lodging and lie down together under the large kitchen table. Luna licking the water from Keto's fur while he shook himself all over, soaking everything around him. It was such a solid routine that it seemed to have been born with them, not built day after day. What impressed authorized visitors most was their near-perfect communication. Keto emitted 7 different sounds that Luna understood immediately, one for food, another for aerial danger, and a third for play. Luna responded with variations of barks, snorts, and even tail movements. When Keto decided to explore a new area, he would climb onto Luna's back and pat her neck with his paws as if to say, "Let's go." The dog would turn in the indicated direction without hesitation. When a new litter of meerkats was born in the protected colony next to the reserve, Keto spent entire days watching from afar, but never tried to approach. His family now had golden fur and weighed 40 kilograms. The bond, forged in a moment of danger in the right place and at the right time, had become stronger than any blood tie.
Today, years after that fatal dive by the eagle that was never completed, Luna and Keto still live together in the reserve that grew thanks to their story. Luna's nose is now gray. She walks more slowly, but she continues to lie in a circle every night so that Keto, now a strong adult meerkat and leader of his own protected colony, can snuggle against her chest as he did when he was a frightened pup. He no longer needs the warmth, but he does it anyway. It's their ritual, their silent way of saying that the bond never ended. The staff say that when Luna sleeps soundly, Keto still stands on her back, watching the sky for long minutes, as if he knew that it was from there that the greatest danger and also the greatest salvation of his life came. The reserve today protects more than 20 meerkat colonies and has become a benchmark in the rehabilitation of orphaned animals. Thousands of visitors come from afar just to see, from a distance and in silence, the golden retriever and the meerkat walking side by side as if the world had always been this way. No one tries to explain anymore. Biologists who studied the case wrote articles, gave lectures, but they all end with the same phrase. Sometimes nature doesn't follow rules. Sometimes it's enough for an animal to be in the right place at the right time and decide that a life is worth more than any ancient instinct. Luna didn't save Keto because she was a heroine. She saved him because she happened to be there at that exact second, saw the danger, and acted. And Keto chose to stay because on that day, the warm chest of a stranger was the only safe place in the world. This story reminds us that the greatest miracles don't need destiny, prophecy, or superhuman strength. They only need someone who, at the exact moment when the other needs them most, decides not to turn their back. Luna and Keto continued to live proof of this every day, under the same blue savanna sky, proving that the purest love can be born between different species, at the right moment, in the right place, and last forever. If you enjoyed the story, please like it, subscribe to the channel to help me bring you more stories, activate the notification bell, and comment with your thoughts, tips, and suggestions. Feel free to watch other videos on the channel right now.